Welcome, everyone. Now, I know with this week being Thanksgiving, that a lot of people are taking the time to review things that have happened maybe over the last little bit for them, maybe this year, over the last few months, maybe even more recently, and they're looking for those things that they're grateful for or thankful for. And there are times that parents, entrepreneurs, people who are working away 9 to 5, that we get so down into the weeds and the grind that when we actually try to do these exercises to look for the things we're grateful for, there's this gratitude gap that's there. We struggle to feel thankful. And so what we want to talk about today is how you can actually fix that. And by fixing it, the things that are going to happen for you, the doors that it opens for you, and the ways that it helps you to show up more authentically as who you are. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just that's something that does happen when you've been down in the weeds just trying to plug away, getting through your day-to-day tasks that you have. And if I can be honest with you, there were years where I would sit trying to think about things I was grateful for, especially around Thanksgiving. You know, you sit around that Thanksgiving table and you're surrounded by family and food and all the things you're supposed to be grateful for that you would think through. It's like, man, you just feel nothing. And it's not that you're feeling joy. It's not sadness, just almost like a blankness, like a nothingness. Now, for me, the worst part wasn't the numbness. It's actually the voice that whispers in your head like, man, you've got so much. Why can't you just feel grateful like everyone else? And if you've ever felt like, everyone else just seems plugged into some sort of gratitude machine and you're stuck on the outside, then this video is for you, because the gap that we're talking about there between the I should feel grateful and I actually feel grateful isn't like a moral failure. It's not a sign that you're ungrateful or broken. Like there's a real reason it happens. And there are real ways to close that gap without forcing anything. I mean, I tried all the usual stuff that you could think of. Like I did the whole, like the gratitude journals, right? Or the list 3 things, or think positive, morning rituals or whatever. And for a long time, nothing landed for me. Gratitude stayed in my head, but never made it to my chest. I never felt it. And what eventually, I learned, and I try to teach to so many other parents, entrepreneurs, or people like yourself, is that gratitude isn't a thought problem. It's actually a presence problem. If you're missing out on that, just hear me out on this one. You can't feel grateful for moments you weren't actually there for. You can't appreciate your gifts when you're running on fumes, right? You can't notice the good stuff when your nervous system is stuck in survival mode. And most people who feel disconnected from gratitude, it's not that they're ungrateful, all right? They're overwhelmed, they're exhausted, or misaligned. Their brain is in this protection mode, and it filters out any of the extra things that are happening because they're too busy just trying to get them through the day. And so we're going to talk about this gratitude gap, what causes it and why it's not your fault. And really, how do you finally start to feel that thankfulness in a very real and natural way and make it automatic, not in some sort of a forced or fake way. Now we're going to dive deep into that today. Normally I like to start at the top of the video. I totally forgot to, but I'll say now, welcome to the Giver Method channel. So glad you're able to join me. If this is your first time, if you're back for another video, welcome back. My name is Jake. I'm so glad you're able to just join us along today. Now, let me ask you something that might ground this for you a little bit more. Have you ever been in that moment where you knew, at the moment, you knew things were good, but you couldn't feel it? Your brain was somewhere else, or you were too drained to take it in, or the pressure to be grateful made it almost feel worse because you weren't noticing that thing. And if that's you, then I want you to hear this once again. You're not doing gratitude wrong, and you're not behind. You're not ungrateful, right? You're just disconnected, and today we're going to help to reconnect you with that. Now, I did say my name was Jake. Let me actually fully introduce myself. My name is Jake Talbert. I'm the founder and author of this book. It's called The Giver Method. Everything we're talking about today is grounded in principles from The Giver Method. So if you want to dive deeper into what we're talking about today, get yourself a copy. Right now, I'll put a link in the description, because right now you can get it on sale for between $2 and $10 based off the version you get. Today, if you're watching this video, is November 26th. You may not be watching on November 26th, but if you are, it is the 1-year anniversary of this book coming out. Holy crap. So go get yourself a copy. Maybe buy a copy for someone else who needs it. Buy a couple copies. Let me know if you did. Maybe I'll send you something. But here's the thing, get yourself a copy. Everything we're talking about today is grounded in this, and it's meant for people like you and me. I wrote all of the action items, exercises, worksheets, stories, everything that's in there are meant for the person, the parents, the entrepreneurs, the people who are working in their 9 to 5, who can't burn everything down and start over, right? They can't go move to the woods to go find themselves spiritually or anything else. No, we have to be able to do these things in the life that we're already living. But when you do these sort of things, you discover your true gifts and superpowers. You can create more impact and influence in the people around you's lives. You can have better engagement and experiences with other people. You have the relationships that you have are deeper and more meaningful, more rich. You live a more fulfilled life with more joy, more happiness. All of these pieces, everything we're talking about today is grounded in the principles from here and leads towards a life that helps you to just, transform how you show up in a very generous manner, and it invites the universe to pay you back based off of that. So like I said, get yourself a copy. There's a link in the description that you can go get yourself a copy, or pause the video and go look up The Giver Method by Jake Talbert on Amazon. And like I said, get yourself a copy. That'd be the biggest thing to do, right? Like I said, I spent years trying to think my way into this gratitude idea, and it all it did was make me feel more guilty that, when that feeling never showed up. The guilt only made that numbness worse. But like practices that we're diving into today are ones that help me. They're ones that help other people that I've worked with. Like these move gratitude out of your head and into your actual life where you can feel it. Once again, these aren't like, I don't want to add more to your plate. They're not like, remove what's blocked. We want to get the things that are blocking you out of the way so you can actually move forward. When you do that, gratitude stops feeling like a chore. It starts feeling like oxygen. You really enjoy that. And so once again, if you want to dive deeper into the concepts we're going to be talking about, go grab yourself a copy of The Giver Method on Amazon. You can also go follow us on all the social media channels, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, under the handle of The Giver Method. You check out thegivermethod.com. We've got free resources like our survival mode assessment. That's what it's called. The Giver Roadmap. We've got our newsletter list. We have all sorts of free resources. You can also check out how we help people one-on-one. So if you're looking for someone to guide you through that process, who's walked that path similar to you, check out the one-on-one coaching slots. And then, of course, if you lead a team, run a community, host a podcast, or want this message for your people, then there's a link down below for that as well. And of course, do all the YouTube things, like the videos, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications, and comment anything that lands for you as we go. I love seeing those, and I love to reply to them. Now with that, let's dive into this, and let's close this gratitude gap for you and really help you to start feeling this way, not only for Thanksgiving, but throughout the entire year. And so we're going to cover 4 very specific practices that help with this. The first practice is I refer to as the tiny joy reset. You're teaching your brain to actually feel gratitude again. It's a little reset you do. It takes only 3 minutes, right? So hear me out. It's so simple, but hopefully you can do it even if you're on your tired day, your burnt out day, when you're wiped out. It's this 3-minute tiny joy reset inventory that you're going to do, and it's where you grab maybe you open up a notes app on your phone, you grab a piece of paper, and you're just going to do list 3 small concrete moments this week that made you smile, even if it was for a little bit. Not big abstract stuff like, oh, my family, my job, but real sensory moments. Think about it, the warmth of the coffee mug in your hands, your kid's ridiculous laugh, or that 90-second silence in the car before you walked into your house. Those little moments that just gave you a little bit of a smile. Most people sit at a table feeling empty. They've been trained to be grateful for the big things, your health, your family, your career. Those matter, trust me, and I'm grateful for those. But they live in your head. Your nervous system wakes up when you're very specific, when you give sensory details. You walked outside and you noticed how blue the sky was today, how amazing those clouds looked. You made all the green lights on the way to work. That song that you haven't heard in so long came on and you just jammed out to it. Whatever. It's the tiny joy reset isn't about adding any sort of big new practice. It's just about noticing what's already happening around you and letting your brain replay that in a way that lights up your emotional centers again. And so you can do this, start today. You spend 3 minutes and you complete this tiny joy inventory. You keep it simple. Like I said, paper, phone, notes app, whatever works for you. So the first thing, you're going to set a timer for 3 minutes. This is very important that you want to do 3 minutes. That's it. It's short enough that you can do it even on your most exhausted day. You can't really talk yourself out of it. The time limit keeps you from overthinking it as well. You just write whatever pops into your head. So once you set your timer, you hit go, you're going to list the 3 concrete joys from the week. Keyword, small and specific. I'm not looking for, I'm grateful for my family. It's, hey, the sound of my daughter's belly laugh with that dumb joke that landed. Not, I'm grateful for my health. Once again, health is a great thing. Family is a great thing. But instead you're going to think man, the deep breath of cold morning air when I stepped outside and just how that felt. Not that I'm grateful for my job. I am grateful for my job. But think about man, the 2 quiet minutes in my office before the meeting started where I could think through what I wanted to say. I'm not looking for I'm grateful for my spouse. Once again, I love my spouse, super grateful for her. But think about it as the way they reacted, or the way, that they reached across the car and they squeezed my hand at that red light. And once again, ask yourself, what did I see? What did I hear? What did I feel, smell, taste? Those sensory moments, what was it? The more you can add those in there, the more your brain lights up, the more the emotional response starts to light up to these things that you're man, I love that. That was awesome. And then you can rewrite each one of those things with like sensory details, like so that it's in the like present tense. And once again, we want to go from words on a page to something that actually feels real. Like I feel warm, like I feel the warmth of the coffee mug in both hands. I watch the steam rise in the morning and I taste that first sip and I feel like it feels warm in my chest, like that present moment sounding thing. And I hear my son's giggle, that one that starts, quiet and then just explodes, and I see his face light up and I feel my own like smile show up before I could even decide to smile. Or I sit in my driveway, it's quiet. I can feel my shoulders drop and I can take that deep breath where nobody needs anything from me, and I can reset myself before I need to go in and put on the role of being dad. And again, when you write it in the present tense, it helps your brain relive the moment, not just remember it, and experience it again, which once again, it's going to populate more of those feelings. And then notice what your joys have in common. Look at those 3 moments and ask yourself, are they moments of connection? Are they pockets of solitude or peace? Or are they mostly about the sensory experience, the taste, the touch, the sound? Or are they just the tiny wins or completions you had? This shows you what actually refuels your tank. Not what you think should fill your tank, it's what actually is filling your tank. And you realize, wow, the thing my soul keeps circling back to is just this 2 minutes of quiet, not the big family party that I'm pressing myself to enjoy. You can also look at it from this way. Some people utilize things like a gratitude anchor, where they just pick an object that you can touch every day, like your coffee mug, your car keys, a ring, the doorknob of the house, like whatever. Every single time you touch that object, pause for 3 seconds, say, okay, what's one small thing I can appreciate right now? And that's it. You don't need to journal it. You don't need to list it. Like, it's just 3-second check-ins that you can do. Sometimes that anchor is what really helps people, move forward. The tiny pause becomes almost automatic because you're trying to weave that gratitude into your day without adding more to your schedule and just starting to notice those things more and more. Most people who feel guilty about not being grateful, they're aiming for the wrong target. They're trying to force the abstract gratitude from their brain that's been in survival mode. And so this tiny joy reset and the gratitude anchor, it flips that. You're training your brain to notice the small concrete things that are already sustaining you, the laugh, the quiet, the first sip, the tiny moment of exhale. And when you do that consistently, 3 minutes and 3 specific moments for a few seconds, like just anchoring yourself down, you stop trying to think your way into gratitude. You truly start to feel it again. Not because life is suddenly perfect, but because you're finally letting your brain see what's good, what's been good this entire time. The things you've been looking over. It's that concept of like you're stepping over 4 quarters to pick up $1. When you could have picked up the quarters and then got to the dollar. It's like, well, yeah, the dollar are those big things, the health, the family. But why are we stepping over the quarters? Let's pick those up as well. Let's pick up those tiny, joyful moments that we have throughout our week. Now, the second practice that I want to focus on is like the gift in action shift. So this is where your gratitude finally connects with who you actually are. Because the truth that people fail to realize a lot of the time is that you don't feel grateful because you're disconnected from yourself. You don't feel ungrateful because you're ungrateful. Let me put it this way. You don't feel ungrateful because you're ungrateful. It's because you're actually disconnected from yourself. You've lost that authenticness to yourself. And so that's where this gift in action like shift starts to happen. It's where you can stop trying to be thankful for things, outside of you, your house, your job, your family. And you start noticing the moments where just maybe your natural gifts, your superpowers, the things that are so uniquely you showed up this week. How'd they show up quietly, casually, in ways that you probably brushed off? Because most people feel empty, who are feeling empty when they're thinking about gratitude or thankfulness, or even here around the Thanksgiving table. It's because gratitude has become about things. And when you feel stuck, unseen, overstretched, misunderstood, burnt out, stressed, overwhelmed, anxiety, like those things don't land emotionally, those things that you're trying to do, They don't touch your identity. They don't speak to your worth. But noticing your gifts, the things that are unique to you, the superpowers you have, how they make an impact in people's lives, man, those are the parts of you that make other people's lives better without even trying. Like, that hits totally different. It creates this real embodied thankfulness because it's rooted in who you are, not what you have. And so here's what I want you to do. You're going to reconnect your gratitude with your actual identity, where this week, this reflection you're going to do about your gifts in action. Noticing where they show up. The first thing you're going to do, step 1 is identify your natural gifts. When you think about it, people naturally come to you for certain things, even if you don't think it's special. And if you need help with this, so the G in the GIVER method is all about finding your gifts, your superpowers. So if you need additional help, go check out the GIVER method. There's probably other videos on the channel that help with this as well, but that might be why you go to Amazon, use the link in the description, and get yourself a copy of the book. But pick those things, those natural gifts that you have. Maybe you bring calm when everyone else is spiraling. You solve problems quickly. You make people laugh without trying. You listen without judgment. You create order within the chaos. You encourage people who are discouraged. You see what others don't see, or you see it before other people notice it. Write down those 2 or 3 gifts that just naturally feel like you. Ask, like, okay, where are those gifts? Like, where did they show up this week? And so the question, like, and once again, it's a magical question. Okay, when did the gift show up? Even if it was quietly this week, where did it show up? And a few thoughts or examples could be like calm in the chaos. Like, hey, the moments where kids were fighting at dinner and I chose calm instead of reacting, and the whole energy shifted. If I'm problem solving, like coworker was stuck, I asked a few questions and suddenly the solution clicked. If encouragement is your gift, it's like, hey, my teenager felt defeated about something in class, a grade or whatever, and I reminded them of their progress, and their posture changed and softened through our discussion. Presence, like, hey, a friend vented to me and I didn't fix anything, I just listened, and they told me like that's what they needed. They needed someone to just hear them out. Most people, like, you're gonna dismiss these moments as they're like just who I am, they're just what I do. Anyone can do those things, but it's your identity, it's your value in motion. Only not everyone can do these things that you're able to do so easily. And something I say all the time is that you're the only person that has your combination of gifts, superpowers, and experiences. The goods, the bads, and everything in between, which means that you are really the only person who can make the impact that you can make. And so, like, these things that you maybe brushed off, it's like you're the only person who can deliver those gifts in the way that you can. Now, this is where we get to step 3 of this thing, which is you're going to write the impact statement behind it. That's why that's so important, is to realize the impact it's making. So you think of it this way, like, because of my gift of blank, whatever it is, then blank happened. Because of my gift of calm, my home didn't spiral last night. Because of my gift of problem solving, my coworker is unstuck. Because of my gift of presence, my friend felt heard. This is where, like, your worth becomes really visible to you. And then you move into this 4th thing, which is like you feel grateful for who you are. So if you write like, hey, I'm grateful, I'm the kind of person who blank. Like, this is who I am, and it matters. And you say it out loud, like these identity-based like gratitudes, like they land deeper than any sort of circumstance-based gratitude ever will. I'm grateful. I'm the kind of person who calms the chaos. I'm the kind of person who is able to simplify the complex things. It's who I am, and it matters. And maybe this is who it matters to. There's all sorts of ways that shows up. There's this idea, this concept that's out there of this invisible gratitude finder. And it hits people in a really good way when they actually grasp the concept. Is like, you look for the things that you think that you never think to appreciate because you've been carrying them for so long. You showed up today when you were exhausted. You made your kid laugh when you felt empty. You solved the problem at work that you were even overwhelmed with. You kept your patience when all you wanted to do was yell, and you're just like, I'm so angry on the inside, but I was able to keep the patience. You held a boundary without apologizing. Like, these are invisible victories that you want to write these down if you have them. Hey, I'm grateful. I'm the kind of person who did this. Even if nobody noticed, it still mattered to me, because once again, we're building the identity of gratitude from the inside out. And most people, like, they can't feel grateful because they're trying to. You're trying to force it. You're trying to force the gratefulness, the gratitude, the thankfulness, or whatever it may be, for like the things that don't even touch your inner world. You already feel unseen or stretched thin or running on fumes. Like, man, the standard gratitude that people want you to think about, like, isn't going to fix that. But when you slow down long enough to notice, like, your gifts in motion, something shifts. You see proof that you matter, evidence that you're showing up even when it's hard, and you see that your value hasn't disappeared. It's just, it's been ignored because you've been in that survival mode. And suddenly, like, gratitude feels real again. It's rooted in your identity, not an obligation. When you start, like, being grateful for who you are, the rest of your life finally starts to make more sense again. Gratitude begins to rise naturally instead of being forced, because you're grounding so much in those gifts that you have. And that takes us to the 3rd practice, which is this 3% presence shift, authenticity shift. These tiny windows where gratitude can finally reach you. And because we're real, like, you can't feel grateful for moments that you're not actually in, right? Most people aren't ungrateful. They're just absent. Not because they don't care, but because, like, life has pulled them in 1,000 different directions. And so this 3rd practice, this 3rd thing, is this 3% presence shift. Once again, it's not about becoming a monk or meditating for an hour a day. It's about choosing one tiny way, just a little bit more, to be present today. 3% more. How can I be more present? Because when your phone is in your hand at dinner, when your brain is still at work, when your kid's talking, when you mentally are preparing for tomorrow while your spouse is speaking, you're technically there, but you're not, right? You're not in the moment. You're not there in present at that point. And it makes it really hard to then play back the game film and find the things you're grateful for because you missed out on the things you weren't there for. And so it gives you your way back, not through pressure, but through the small windows where gratitude can actually land because you're being present and in the moment. That's where you're going to be the times that you're going to smile the most, you're going to light up, you're going to find those things you're the most grateful for. And so here's how you create that presence that can actually maintain, once again, starting today, just choose that 3% shift that you want to commit to. Like, identify your biggest presence leak. Ask yourself, like, where am I physically here but mentally gone? I have my phone out during meals, I'm scrolling while my partner's talking. Mentally, I'm working, I'm mentally at work while I'm, with my family, rushing through bedtime routines or half listening to conversations, driving or walking on complete autopilot. Choose one of these things. Like, choose one of the things it is for you, not 5 of them, just one. And then choose your 3% shift. You pick the smallest possible adjustment to plug that leak. So like, if it's like, hey, I've got my phone out during dinner, it's like, right, the 3% shift would be like, put your phone in the other room for one dinner. Not all week, just one dinner. If you bring your work stress home, then the 3% shift would be like, before walking in the door, pause for one breath and mentally say, like, I'm here now and this is how I want to show up. If you rush through bedtime, the 3% shift is like, hey, during tonight's like hug with your kid, count to 3 before letting go. If you're half listening, the 3% shift would be like, in one conversation, just listen fully without planning your response. Like, just listen for what they're actually saying. What's the feeling underneath what they're saying? If you scroll during conversations, like, once again, 3% would be put your phone down when someone starts talking to you just once this week. Make it small so it feels almost so silly that it's like, well, that doesn't do much. Yeah, it does. That's why it works, is because it's so small. And then you need to actually notice what's happening. Like, this is where people go like, oh, wow. It is when you make the tiny shift, you pay attention to what appears. Like, after your phone-free dinner, it's like, man, the food actually tasted better. Or I saw my kids light up when we started telling the story. I laughed at that joke that maybe I would have missed. If you take that conscious breath before you go inside your home, like, man, I didn't drag work through the front door. I noticed my child's face when they saw me. I actually arrive and not collapse. Or let's say I slow down for bedtime routine for 3 seconds. Like, man, the child relaxed into you. I felt in the moment instead of rushing through it. You write down whatever it is you notice. Like, that's proof that your presence, like, has created access moments that you've been missing. And then you're going to let gratitude show up on its own. Like, don't force it. Notice if something, inside softens a little. When you're actually there, like, gratitude tends to show up quietly, almost like, oh, hey, like, I've been here the whole time. Like, you just finally slowed down enough to feel me. And so if you're feeling nothing, that's okay. Presence first. Be present. Gratitude will come. It comes as a part of that. And then there's this concept that people will look at, which is this gratitude interruption. When you catch yourself spiraling in self-criticism, overwhelm, worst-case scenario thinking or whatever, like, this is where you can just, like, interrupt. It's like, okay, well, I've got these things I could do, like to walk in the door better, to be present at the dinner table or at bedtime. Like, sometimes you're just there and you feel yourself going into those overwhelm spirals. And so you just have to, there are people who teach such amazing breathwork routines and techniques for stuff like this, but like, the whole concept is, like, you place your hands on your heart, it grounds you in your emotions and where you're at. You take a slow breath and you think, like, what's one thing that's still good right now? Once again, you're not pretending everything's fine. You're just reminding your brain to look at the moment that you're actually in, like, not the disaster you're imagining, and just using that as a reset button back to the present, back to where you're supposed to be right now. Most people, once again, you're not lacking gratitude. You're lacking the moments where you're actually there long enough to feel it. And so presence is the doorway. Gratitude is what walks through. So one tiny shift, that's it. One small window, one moment where you're actually there. Like, do that consistently, and suddenly you're not forcing gratitude. You're receiving it in so many new ways. And then the fourth practice that I want to talk about is this doable experience moment. I want you to replay the ways you helped today. All right, like, so you actually want to feel the impact you made. And something people don't think about all the time, like, because we are doing way more than you ever give yourself credit for. You just don't focus on what, we always focus on, like, what we didn't do, what we didn't accomplish. And we completely miss out on the moments where we did show up. And so that's where this, like, this, I want to look at the experience I created, the double experience moment. That's what it's called. At the end of the day, you should ask yourself, like, well, who did I help today, even if it was in the smallest way? And you replay that in your mind, not in a vague memory, but like you're watching it, like, on TV. Your brain doesn't know the difference between like reliving a moment or remembering it. And so if you replay it with enough detail, you can experience the emotion twice. So we want to double down on that. And so starting tonight, what I want you to do, like, you're going to do your contribution replay. Think about it like, what are the take, I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes before bed, ask yourself that contribution question, like, hey, who did I help today? Even in a small way. And don't miss the small stuff. Like most of your gifts show up in such tiny ways we overlook them. I listened to someone who needed a minute. I made my kid laugh when they were melting down. I solved that small problem for a coworker. I showed up even when I didn't want to. Like, write down whatever those are. 1 to 3 contributions. And if you can only name 1, that's fine. But if you can get 3 down, great. And then choose one moment. Pick the moment that felt the most meaningful, or the one that you almost brushed off as like, that wasn't a big deal. Those are usually the ones that matter the most. And then replay it like a slow motion movie. Like, close your eyes, walk through that moment again. See the person's face. How did it change after you helped them? Did their shoulders drop? Did their eyes soften? Like, hear the words that they were saying. What did they actually say? What was the tone? Did they thank you? Like, what did that sound like? Even if like you blew it off at the time. Feel what happened inside you. Like, what was your chest warm? Did you feel grounded? Like, did something soften inside you? If you spend 60 seconds, 90 seconds going through that moment, like, your nervous system goes like, oh man, that really mattered. And now you can name it in a gratitude way. You can actually write it out as a sentence of like, hey, I'm grateful I got to blank today because of blank. Like, hey, I'm grateful I got to help my child with their homework because like I got to watch them go from frustrated to confident. I'm glad I made my coworker feel seen because like they relaxed in the moment and listened. I'm grateful I encouraged my friend because, being there steady, being there at a steady point for them like mattered today. And then read it out loud. Let yourself feel it, like even if it's subtle. And sometimes it helps to look for the patterns that are there. Like after maybe a week of doing this, you read through your notes and such, like, hey, what gifts am I using the most? Who are the people that are benefiting from this stuff? Like, what's the impact that you made without even noticing, or the moments where you felt like yourself again? And that becomes a record of who you really are, not the version that you're like criticizing or playing the game film in your head. It's like, no, I can actually see how it is that I'm making a true impact in people's lives. So many people feel guilty for not feeling grateful, but the truth is like they've just stopped seeing their own contribution. And your days are full of tiny moments where you made someone's life easier, lighter, calmer, more hopeful, but because life got loud, like you blew past them. And so like this double experience moment, like you actually get to play it back. You actually feel the good again. You see your gifts in action and you feel gratitude for the difference that you're making. And you get the chance to remember, like, you matter far more than your brain is giving you credit for. You replay these moments, you're not pretending, you're reconnecting with what you've already done. Gratitude flows naturally when you recognize your contribution. It always has. And this practice reminds you to just go back and notice it. And so, like, as we wrap this idea up of looking for the ways of gratitude and bringing that back into your life, here's what I want you to hear. There's nothing wrong with you for struggling to feel grateful. There's nothing wrong with you. Gratitude isn't something you think your way into. It's something you feel when your life finally slows down enough, like, for you to experience it, right? The moments that are happening right in front of you, when you actually take the moment to realize that. But our brains are so caught up in that survival mode that it's hard for us to do that. But the good news is, like, you don't need a whole new life to get there. You just need that one small doorway back to yourself. So pick one of the practices we talked about, just one, and try it for a week. What's the sensory moment? Notice your gifts showing up. What's that 3% shift? Replay the contribution you're doing. That's it. Like, start small, start messy, just start where you are. My gosh, you could even take 60 seconds right now and write down one concrete moment this week that made you smile. Let your brain feel it, not just remember it. Like, that's you choosing to close that gratitude gap in real time. And if you want to dive deeper into this sort of thing, like, and you want to reconnect your gifts and your purpose and the version of you that still exists under all of the noise, then that's where I mentioned earlier in the video, like, go get yourself a copy of the GIVER Method. Link is in the description. It's on sale. Go to Amazon, look it up right now, The GIVER Method by Jake Talbert, or go to thegivermethod.com, take advantage of some of those free resources. Everything I teach is rooted in this framework. And if you want one-on-one support, someone to guide you through these types of things, then check out the one-on-one coaching link down below. If you lead a team, have a podcast, event, community, a room where this message needs to be heard, I'd love to bring it to them. There's a link down below about speaking and podcasting. Before you leave, make sure you do all those YouTube things, hit subscribe, tap the bell for notifications, like the video, and hey, drop me a comment, like, what's one moment, or like tiny or quiet, that you actually felt today. You don't have to force gratitude. You just have to make space for it, like, to show up. And when you do, it shows up every single time, and it changes how you show up, and you're able to make a greater impact in people's lives using your gifts and superpowers. So hopefully you've been able to take some good stuff away from this video. Check out the other videos on the channel. Check out thegivermethod.com. Hopefully we'll be able to catch you in one of our upcoming videos. Have a great rest of your day.